Welcome, everyone. This is a podcast series by me, and where I'll feature important people who shape my life, people who shape my world, and people who I love. So, the first person I'm going to introduce you to, the person who I love deeply, is Myra. Myra is Myra is many things. You should follow her LinkedIn blog. She posts messages and very important messages pertaining to diversity, equity, and inclusion. But besides that, she is a wonderful person. I'll tell you, Myra basically wanted to do an interview of mine for a magazine, and I wanted to interview her for this podcast. So we decided that एक काम करते हैं, हम interview साथ में ही कर लेते हैं, and we will have this interview in a way that Myra gets to ask me questions, and I get to share with the entire world what an amazing person Myra is. Okay,
Thank
and we will engage in banter. Okay, and sometimes don't mistake our camaraderie as a license for you to behave the same way with your friends if you don't have that equation. That usually happens with me most of the times because I say the most inappropriate things with my friends, and then my friends try doing it with their friends, Myra, and they get pretty effed up.
it's,
So,
it's very
so Myra, how
risky.
have you been?
Been good. Had a long day, but really looking forward for the weekend now. So super excited. First weekend of the new year.
Oh yeah. Oh, I almost forgot that it's the first weekend of the new year.
Yeah, it
And now
seems
is the
like the
season of
continuation of
chuttis,
the
no?
last year.
Yeah. I was like, there have been too many chuttis in the
Hmm.
recent past. Okay, you had the
Yeah.
New Year, you had Christmas. So it's practically the holiday season to get
Yeah.
into the books or get into the laptop now.
True.
Um, I think it is a struggle. And how's it been for you? And when did you join? You joined work on second?
When did you join as in?
And when did you rejoin? As in you're taking a break after
Yeah,
work
I have taken
for
a
the new
break.
year?
So like from 22nd, I've taken a break and I've just joined this Thursday. So I had to take a break for personal reason. Uh, Went to a friend's wedding. No, actually not wedding, a reception. Quite sis at reception. So,
Cis
but
het
yeah,
reception. Okay, वो
yeah,
बोलना
I
जरूरी है. I mean, every time my straight people have weddings, I remind them that it's a straight wedding.
yeah, it's a
I
straight
tell them
wedding. Yeah,
आपका
they call
cis.
our wedding or the relation
हमारा
like
gay
it's
wedding हुआ तो
queer
तुम्हारा straight
relation.
wedding क्यों नहीं?
Or क्या? Exactly, exactly. Every time it is very important to mention.
Uh-huh. So Myra,
Hmm.
tell the whole world. I know, of course,
Hmm.
where you work and what you do per se, but what do you do for a living? I work in a bank. I work with Axis Bank. Um, so that's what I do for a living.
Hmm.
But besides that, I'm a full-time activist. I'm a part-time worker in a company. At least
I
psychologically,
hope your boss is
my
not
larger
watching this
goal.
video.
No, no, let my boss. I mean, it is always something that I
Hmm.
have believed in. I work so that I could support my social causes and things that I want to do, and it's
No,
important to
fair.
rewire
Yeah.
yourself. I mean,
Hmm.
it's not that I'm giving my job some
Hmm.
secondary treatment.
Hmm.
It's just that my larger purpose in life
Hmm.
is not a job. My larger purpose
Hmm.
in life is to make the world kinder, and the
Hmm.
job fits in beautifully with that. It gives
Yeah.
me it
Yeah.
gives me the
Hmm.
gives wings to my purpose. How's
This
it been for you?
fair. So I work with Godrej Capital as a lead DAI, and you said it very right. Like it's been almost 10 plus years of work for me. And in most of my previous roles where I was working in different capacity, working in different functions, so I have worked in sales. I have handled social media marketing. I have built a website from scratch. So I have done all these things, and money was decent. But as you said, like our job, in a DI space, give aligns very well with our purpose. So the larger goal is how we can make the world inclusive for everyone, so no one have to suffocate in a closet. I have lived there for more than 36 years, around, no, 36 years, 36 I'm right now. So I've lived there like more than 30 years actually, and it has been very, very uncomfortable space. Uh, so I don't want anyone to suffer like that. And because the world is not accessible, we see a lot of self-harm in the trans community and in the queer community at large. People attempt suicide because they see there is no hope, there is no acceptance. Our work enables us to work with thousands of people, the employees, and we have to remember that they are not individual. They are part of a household. If you're working with 1,000 people, you're actually impacting somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 people. You're changing the mindset of those
Mm,
people. And it's not just about job. When you have a job, you need a housing facility. You need accessible transport and everything. And this is how we can build the society. And this is what I feel my work at Godesh Capital. And I try to create a content which can help people who want to get into the journey of a DEI, or if they can learn a few things from there. So I focus on that. So that's
mm.
the larger goal.
Same here. I mean, if it had not matched with my larger goal of what I want to do in
True.
life, I
Hmm.
and it's so we are so fortunate to find these. So even when I say
True.
that I work part time in any this thing, that
Hmm.
doesn't mean I work literally part time. I work on a
Definitely.
on a proper job, but
We all know that.
psychologically that is my purpose. It's the other
Hmm.
way. My work aligns with my purpose, and I have a huge amount of gratitude for that.
Yeah.
Gratitude for the fact that I've been so lucky that my work at office aligns with what I want to do in society. In fact, for me, I think the our offices are a microcosm of society at large.
Yeah.
If in society there are challenges and issues and um, people, people who behave well, people who don't behave well, all our companies and our organizations, no matter how progressive our organizations are, we will,
Hmm.
because human beings, right, human beings are flawed. And with the idea that human beings are flawed, I think it's important to
Hmm.
acknowledge that DEI is derived from that aspect per se,
Yeah.
that all
Yeah.
human beings are flawed. Like for instance, why do you need a if you're so safe for women, why do you need a posh policy? Because
Sure.
there are people, there are people
Hmm.
who will break the law. There are people, because
Yeah.
human beings are flawed,
Hmm.
and which is a problem, but which is also beautiful in its own way. That we are
Yeah.
not a cookie cutter. We all come in different shapes and sizes. The ways
Sure.
that we
Sure.
think. I think it's beautiful. What in DEI excites you the most? For me, it's the fact that I get to do things that I want to impact in society at large. What is it for you?
For me, it's about most first of foremost is like building a representation. So, when I see in my campus, like people from, so I'll tell you that like when I was in a closet and I used to daydream that someday I will be able to be myself, I will be able to wear this, or like maybe going out like in sunlight as feel sunlight as myself seems like a very big thing. But when I see people from the queer community, from a person with disabilities, women in a leadership role, it's very affirming. So for me, the representation of a queer people, of a person with disability, and now women in the leadership role is very affirming, and drives me it drives me to what I want to do. Like every morning actually.
Mhm. And
So,
that's and isn't it so
mm,
gratifying that we have these opportunities
yeah,
to do the things that we want to do on a day-to-day basis. So tell me,
true.
Myra, what about your personal journey, your own life per se? Uh, how's it been? From where do you come? Tell the world from where do you come? Where do you hail from? Uh, you're Myra Q.
Yeah.
Is that and I have been for long wondering, is Qureshi? Yeah, are you Myra Qureshi? Because I tried getting a surname with Q. I couldn't find one. So on
Okay.
LinkedIn and other places, you're Myra Q. So what is Q?
Hmm. So Q is many things. Q is questioning everything
Oh,
about life, way of life, uh, about uh, myself, about world, about people. Q stands for curious as well, but this is like that K wala hota hai na, to
hmm.
wo wala feel. So it makes me curious with K about, as I said, like my gender, about society, the way we are structured in a way, and how if we can do anything to change few things around that. And Q stands for queerness. And so this is all me. This is all Q stands for. It does not have any particular last name like Qureshi or something.
So
And
so
I
what's
very
been your journey?
consciously, yeah, so like I very consciously chose this letter and not to have any any word as a last name. And the major reason was I don't. One more thing, like I understand people try to find religion from your name. People tend to find caste
I
from your
did.
last
I
name.
did. I did. I mean, I didn't. It didn't occur to me that my Qureshi is Muslim,
Uh,
but I mean, it didn't occur in the sense ऐसा नहीं कि मेरे को religion पता करना है इसलिए, but मेरे
ah,
को लगा कि उसे कुरैशी होगा and Qureshi
ah,
happens to be Muslim.
yeah.
Hmm.
So, so that's why I just took Q there.
So
Hmm,
I mean, I for the longest time I used
hmm,
to I've always been known as Harish Iyer. Okay,
yeah.
and even when I was cast blind. Okay, what I mean by cast blind is that I was being castist in my real life, but I wasn't. But I was so blind about it. Like for instance, I used to have these instances in my house, um, which I never questioned because कभी-कभी हम ना बहुत सारी चीजें
Yeah.
हम क्वेश्चन ही नहीं करते हैं. जैसे कि हमारे घर पे अ, एक औरत थी रत्नाबाई करके जो हमारे घर आती
Hmm,
थी और
hmm,
कपड़े दो बाथरूम साफ करने आती थी जब मैं
hmm.
बच्चा था और वो जब मुझे हाथ लगाती थी मेरी दादी मुझे पूरा स्नान कराती थी. She used to
अच्छा.
ensure that I have bath.
हाँ, हाँ.
I never I never
Hmm,
saw it as caste because
hmm, hmm,
when you are born to privilege,
hmm,
I was born in a Brahmin family. So when
hmm,
you're
hmm,
born to privilege, there are a lot of these things that you don't see. It's
hmm,
not an excuse. It should
hmm,
people should make an attempt to see, but you
hmm,
don't see. I didn't see.
hmm,
Okay.
hmm,
I Then there was this other time. It was only I started watching this only when because I used to think even when my mother had put up a matrimonial ad which said for
hmm,
you know cast no bar but Iyer preferred.
hmm,
I thought it was a big joke
hmm,
at that moment, and there was and I put it up on midday. Midday had published this ad, a matrimonial ad.
hmm.
It was hailed as India's first gay matrimonial ad. I'm sure that there were
Hmm.
many before also.
Okay.
But So when this was there, I my mother had put a snow bar, and my grandmother walked
Hmm.
into the room. She said, "पुल्लिया पुन्ना टेंशन है अय्यर हरकना like लड़का लड़की फर्क नहीं पड़ता बस अय्यर होना चाहिए." So we put in Kasnobar, but I
Hmm.
prefer. I found it very funny, and I thought that
Hmm.
if queer people, if and I wanted to put a typical ad, so I thought that yeah, why should we assume that queer people are don't have biases? But no one is going to
Definitely.
question if
Yeah.
I don't have bias. मतलब
Uh-huh.
मुझे लगा ही नहीं कि कोई मुझसे पूछेगा कि
Hmm.
यार तुम कास्टिस्ट हो क्या करके.
Hmm.
But the
Hmm.
moment I put the ad, first nothing happened, and then a very close, now a good friend of mine,
Hmm.
Rituparna Chatterjee,
Yeah. Yeah.
called me up and she asked me. She's a very staunch feminist, and she called and asked me. She used to write for Huffington Post that time. So she called me and asked me, "Was this caste preference deliberate?" And मैंने very strongly बोला हाँ हाँ बिल्कुल ऐसा हुआ था मजाकिया तौर पे हमने लिख दिया.
Hmm.
Then she wrote a piece in Huffington Post
Hmm.
which said how caste preference ruined India's first gay matrimonial ad, or something to that headline. The other.
Okay. Hmm.
At
Hmm.
that time, I was not angry at her because journalists should ask questions and
Yeah.
they shouldn't be
That is supposed
siding
to be the
people. I
job.
wasn't angry at her, but after that got posted, there were many people who were screaming and yelling and speaking rudely. Which
Hmm.
and when people scream at you, your tendency is to scream back. You don't you don't hold back. You want to scream back, and or you want to say something and justify what happened. And no, you're not at fault. I did all these mistakes until and once I was called out, and even Godrej. I had come to India Culture Lab, and my mother was there, and somebody had asked my mother. My mother was on the panel, and my mother was this caste thing deliberate, and she again said the same thing, because we didn't even realize a lot of these things, and
Yeah.
and that's why I make an attempt to remind myself, and only when the dust settled did I realize that yaar, I have to go and see if this is. I have to examine the same things, and then suddenly I saw that my grandmother, who's still alive, she's 95 right now, 94, and she has separate glasses for our house elves. um, they I used to think my जब घर पे पूजा होता है बहुत अच्छा है हाउस हेल्प को छुट्टी मिलती है. I used to think keep wearing very this thing.
Yeah.
ये छुट्टी इसलिए मिलती है क्योंकि कि ब्राह्मणों की पूजा है ना. How can someone else come?
Sure.
So I
Sure.
so there's some things I'm able to change,
Hmm.
but I think a lot will change after my grandmother passes away, whenever that happens. Not that I'm wishing her to die, but 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 yeah, but there's certain things for her. There's another chapter of unlearning the whole
Hmm.
thing, and I'm trying to educate her. If it doesn't happen during this lifetime, at least the lifetime after that, uh, probably will be kinder. Sorry, I was asking you. I only told about myself. मैं
No,
तो ऐसे.
that's really beautiful what you have said, and this one more thing, people think that if that person is a queer, trans है, trans person है, या फिर gay है, lesbian है, या फिर disability है, so they think that हम लोग गलत नहीं हो सकते, हमारे biases नहीं हो सकते, चाहे वो कास्ट को लेकर हो, क्लास को लेकर हो, या जेंडर को भी लेकर हो, इवन फॉर दैट मैटर. सो देयर आर लॉट ऑफ बायसेस एंड वी हैव टू सी इट एज इट इज. हम इसमें कुछ भी अपना कंफर्ट जोन नहीं ढूंढ सकते हैं, क्योंकि ये मेरे को चलेगा, ये मेरे को नहीं चलेगा, दिस कैन हैपन. सो यू हैव टू सी द एंटायर पिक्चर, and we have to accept that, like, the queer community, person with disabilities, cis women, everyone, like, have their own biases, and the important thing is we can have a dialogue, we can try to learn from each other, and try to be a better person what we were yesterday. So
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And ये सोचना कि anyone is holier than thou, or in the Indian context, holier than cow,
yeah.
is incorrect, because
Yeah.
we all are flawed. I mean,
True.
I'm sure that I'm not sure. I know that I'm flawed in so many ways. Like for
Hmm.
instance, I'm very flawed in etiquettes. If I have an idea in my mind and I have to say it because I'm so forgetful, I will, if even if there's a meeting where two people are saying something, I'm so वो creative कीड़ा होता है ना, I have to interrupt them and say this. So I
Mm-hmm.
appear very pushy when it comes to my ideas only because I'm like रुक मैं भूल जाऊंगा चलो, and you'll be speaking something else.
Uh-huh.
So there are many things, many times that you reflect on these things,
Mm-hmm.
and you know the way we respond to things are going to be different. Like I decided when I realized that after a while though, when I realized that what I did was wrong and I could have avoided putting the caste preference over there, then I said, oh, now I'm going to remove my surname and just call myself Harish.
Okay.
But the world was referring to me as Harish Iyer or Higher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I realized that, you know, that while now doing something like that would
Mm-hmm.
be tokenistic. Okay. And secondly, I thought that I can be an Iyer and also be born an Iyer, though I don't identify as one. I don't wear
Mm-hmm.
the Janevu at all. I never wore the Janevu, though I got the Janevu ceremony done, got a lot of gifts. But the I don't identify as one, but the truth is that I'm known as this, and it's important to hold
Mm-hmm.
that truth also without faking it.
That
I
is
thought so.
true. Yeah, that is true. And just to add on to what you have said, uh, with caste, there is a privilege. Caste एक privilege है, especially in our society. Uh, if you are from a so-called upper caste, so आपकी फैमिली ने वो relatively वो चीजें struggle या फेस नहीं करी होगी जो एक अ, ऐसे इंसान ने करी हो जो कि सो कॉल्ड लोअर कास्ट से आते हैं। अ, हो सकता है थोड़े बहुत इकोनॉमिकल चैलेंजेस कुड बी सिमिलर बिटवीन यू एंड यू एंड द अदर पर्सन, बट जो सबसे बड़ा डिफरेंस जो क्रिएट करता है वो करता है सोशल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन। एंड व्हेन पीपल आर थिंकिंग ओके आई विल बी अ कास्टलेस, you can't be entirely you can be casteless, but you have to acknowledge the privilege that you own of a caste. And wherever you are, whatever you have achieved with your privilege, which चाहे वो कास्ट की हो, क्लास की हो, और इस पॉइंट पे हम कास्ट डिस्कस कर रहे हैं तो स्पेशली अगर कास्ट की, तो व्हाट यू कैन यूज, हाउ यू कैन यूज दिस प्रिविलेज टू क्रिएट मोर इक्विटेबल स्पेस फॉर द अदर पर्सन। तो सिर्फ हटाने से काम नहीं होगा। अगर आप हटा भी दोगे तो यू हैव टू एक्नॉलेज दैट कि वो आपको पूरा प्रिविलेज मिला है।
बिल्कुल, बिल्कुल. Also, see, uh, we all are sometimes privileged in one
हम्म,
aspect and not privileged in the other. Like for
डेफिनेटली।
instance,
हम्म,
um, uh, like gender. Okay,
या,
it's so difficult to make people understand
हम्म,
that it's not a one size fits all. Like yesterday, I was speaking to one of my friends, and I was telling them that I'm getting a trans certificate,
हम्म,
and he was like, "You're not transgender." So I said, "Well, gender fluid falls under the trans
या,
umbrella, and I do feel like a woman more often than I feel like a
हम्म,
man.
हम्म,
And there aren't cards for, and I have difficulty sometimes when I'm dressed uh, overtly feminine. I have difficulty in using a men's restroom, so it's important
true,
for me to
yeah,
have a card so that I could use the men's restroom or
yeah,
the women's restroom. I don't want to
हम्म,
use the women's restroom because unless I am dressed that way or I feel attacked or anything of that kind. As of now, but I'm just saying that it's a like I have to have that debate which restroom I
yeah,
need to use.
yeah,
Many people don't need to have that debate, and
that's a
sometimes having a
privilege.
card will make it easy.
हाँ,
For me to at
हाँ,
least the government, the Nalsa judgment has given us these options. So why not
yeah,
proceed with the same, right?
no,
And
that's true, yeah, that's true. And like, who is a transgender and who is not? मतलब ये कौन डिसाइड करेगा? क्या आपके बॉडी पार्ट डिसाइड करेंगे या आपने कैसे कपड़े पहने वो डिसाइड करेगा? कौन डिसाइड करेगा? It's you who will be deciding this. So
Yeah.
definitely ये सब तो रहता ही है, and just to like add on the gender privilege वाला point पे, like so I'm a trans person. I do have a lot of infrastructure related challenges. I have to be very cautious while moving around the city or maybe going in a two-tier or three-tier city. Uh, I'm a very scared person. I'm not as brave as my other sisters. So I have been I keep very like be very careful about my uh, mobility around the city or around the country. Uh, but having said that, the gender I was born with, or like the sex I was assigned at birth, has given me some access to information, some exposure, and maybe exposure to the information I had. Like early, very early, I got the access to the PC, where I could have search or find few people, have access to the internet, the social media community, so that I can speak to people who have the similar kind of experience. So वो एक privilege तो रहा है ना, like I can't say that कि वो इतना मुझे नहीं मिला. Like if I was born with like I was assigned female at birth and I was a trans person, I believe honestly I would have faced some more challenge. क्योंकि
Mm.
restrictions ज़्यादा है. We live in a patriarchal society. We have to accept it. And तो तो वो रहता है, लाइक देयर आर इंसिडेंट्स जहाँ पे आपको आपके प्रिविलेज हेल्प करते हैं, और जहाँ पे आप अंडर प्रिविलेज भी होते हो काफी ज्यादा स्पेसेस में. सो इट्स नॉट लाइक ब्लैक एंड वाइट, इट्स ऑलवेज ग्रे, एंड इवन लाइक डिफरेंट शेड्स ऑफ ग्रे.
And and it really helps when your workplace understands that.
हम्म.
And again, one of the most progressive workplaces has been Godrej. I mean, I know that Godrej was in this journey several years back. Several years back. Uh, it it is almost in line with the activism and the कोर्ट कचहरी
हम्म.
में जो हो रहा था उससे सिंक में ही चल रहा था गोदरेज का गोदरेज का जर्नी पर से. So I'm thinking, I remember when we had the India Culture Lab. Okay, we used to
हम्म.
come up with the Trans Manifesto to do so many things that have birthed and that have taken birth in Godrej. Okay, by creating an organization which is a community space by itself.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful thing, but a beautiful thing, and so beautiful that we were there. And for me, I mean, I wouldn't have even imagined that I would be working with a bank. ओके, मैं तो बैंकर्स तो दूर दूर तक, मैं तो बैंकर को डेट भी नहीं करता था. आई नेवर गॉन ऑन अ डेट विद द
क्यों?
बैंकर. आई यूज्ड टू थिंक ये लोग डेबिट क्रेडिट बात करेंगे, ये लोग कहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया. आई एक्चुअली वेंट ऑन अ डेट आल्सो विद द बैंकर
ओके.
बिफोर आई जॉइन एक्सेस. एंड आई वेंट एंड ही आस्क्ड मी कि तुमने कहाँ इन्वेस्ट किया है बताओ, एंड आई फाउंड इट वेरी बोरिंग. सो बैंक तो मैं बिल्कुल ज्वाइन नहीं करूँगा. And I joined Axis Bank, and very lucky and privileged to find that opportunity, and open-minded people, like
हम्म.
people who were right from the CEO to everyone else who had interviewed me. I think Raj Kamal, my CHRO, Vaijayanti, everybody, राजेश दहिया करके एक हमारे साथ काम करते थे, तो वो आई थिंक all these people were so fantastic. I didn't know if they were serious that they really wanted to hire me, but they did, and I'm grateful. And वो gratitude रखना कितना important
या.
होता है.
या.
See, we will not be grateful if I was heterosexual and they give me a job. Got
हम्म.
it? I mean, I'm
हम्म.
grateful because the spaces for queer people are so small, and you can
या.
actually count on your fingers how many queer people are there in leadership roles. You can count on your out queer people. I don't believe that everyone who's a CEO is all heterosexual. There are a
No,
lot
they
of queer
can't be.
people, and
Yeah.
there are a lot of
Yeah.
gossips we have heard as well.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
which we'll not speak about. But
Yeah.
uh, but the but there are several queer people who exist, but out queer
Mm,
people are very few who are in leadership positions.
mm,
Parmesh happens to be one. I happen to be one. Zainab happens to be one.
yeah.
You happen to be one, and you can actually count. Zoya happens to be one from
Yeah.
Godrej Properties,
Yes.
and you can just count on your fingers कि कितने लोग हैं. I mean, and that's a
No,
sad
that
state
is
of
true.
affairs. I mean,
That
I'm
is true.
grateful, but
Yeah.
I'm so happy that we get to build a world that the next
Mm.
generation doesn't need to be grateful for this. They take it for granted that whether you're queer or straight, you'll be treated well. I mean,
That is so
that's a purpose of
liberating. Like the
activism
queer
also.
people are taking things for granted.
Yeah.
That is so liberating. Sounds so good.
Like we should we should they should
Yeah.
take this for granted that they will be treated kindly in whichever place that they go. and
Mm-hmm.
and see, we aren't no, our life is so much about our identities, right? But at the same time, all that we are fighting for is to dissolve our identity,
Yeah.
you know in the sense,
Mm.
not like forget that we are trans people, or we are queer people, or we are gay people, or we
Mm-hmm.
are we are Dalit, or we are persons with disability, but build a place where there's so much equity that doesn't become a matter of concern for anything. You just make it. You have a, like, for instance, make blind students a norm. Like, I've never interacted with a blind student when I was studying, but when I went to St. Xavier's College, they had several blind students who used to work over there, who used to study over there,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just amazed, just trying to understand how they would be functioning, how they would be behaving, to finally realize that, like, they're just people like all of us. Just as
Yeah.
we just as we sometimes glorify trans, like some people glorify the transgender world or the LGBT world. The LGBT people also glorify persons with disability and say, "Oh my God, I don't know whether this is God-given sixth sense and what else and what not."
A person with
I think we all
speciality
are
or
flawed.
special ability. There's some of the people
Special.
call
Oh
it
my God, it
special
pisses me
ability.
off.
Yeah,
It
I
pisses
know.
me off when people say different ability, special
Yeah.
ability,
Yeah.
or people call them godly. I mean,
Yeah. I
what? I mean, they they live with that. I have a sister who's
yeah.
deaf, and cousin sister, of course, and
Mm-hmm.
and she and I fight like anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
her क्या बोलते हैं उसका, uh, उसका जो डिसेबिलिटी है वो मुझे पता भी नहीं चलता बहुत बार.
Mm-hmm.
सो
And that's important, no? Like
हाँ.
disability के साथ में क्या है? यही है. Basically, the environment is making them disabled. So for example,
या
अगर हम सभी लोग व्हीलचेयर पे होते, तो क्या हमारे घरों में सीढ़ियाँ होती? नहीं होती. तो इट्स
बिल्कुल.
नॉट जस्ट इफ एवरीवन वाज ब्लाइंड, तो शायद मैटर नहीं करता कि हम कौन से कलर के कपड़े पहने हुए हैं, वर्ल्ड अलग होता. इट्स बेसिकली द इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज मेकिंग देम डिसेबल, which is
एग्जैक्टली.
creating a barrier. And as our role as a DEI professional, uh, that we have to make world accessible for them. We have to just remove those barriers, and we just have to create the infrastructure where things are more accessible for them. They don't
एग्जैक्टली.
face any challenge.
और और ये ना बहुत बार आफ्टर थॉट होता है. दैट्स द प्रॉब्लम. अगर
Yeah.
हम जब क्रिएट करते हैं कुछ, तभी हमने सोच लिया एक्सेसिबिलिटी के बारे में. लाइक फॉर
Mm.
इंस्टेंस, you build a whole building and then you say, oh, I need to put in a lift over here. ये पहले
Now
भी
the
सोच
cost
सकते थे
will
ना.
be like 10x.
या
Yeah.
या फिर Yeah, fair. I mean, I've gone to the best of institutes in the
Hmm.
country, and I've seen many of these institutes having lectures about disability, speaking about using the right language and
Hmm.
everything. But but their seating arrangement is inequitable for people on a wheelchair.
Hmm.
Okay, और I mean it's because all this came as an afterthought. जब वो build कर
Hmm.
रहे थे वो टाइम नहीं सोचा, because तब able bodied people build कर रहे थे able bodied people के लिए.
Yeah.
तब
Yeah.
हम person with disability के बारे में नहीं सोचते.
True. True. डेफिनेटली एंड हमारे जो प्रिविलेजेस होते हैं वो हमें ब्लाइंड कर देते हैं while we are making a policy or infrastructure or doing hiring or any of these things, or I'll even have a conversation. I have read this wonderful book, Invisible Women. उसमें बहुत सारी केस स्टडीज हैं जो यही बता रहे हैं कि देयर आर प्लेसेस जहाँ पे उन्होंने घर तो बना दिया, किचन बनाना भूल गए. क्योंकि there are cases like there's one case where the women police officer has died क्योंकि वो गन नहीं निकाल पाई. It was not accessible. The seat belt, अभी कार का सेटिंग काफी चेंज हो गया, बट पहले it was for male body. तो या लाइक अभी आई थिंक थोड़ा लोगों को समझ में आया है that we have to create accessible world. And for disability I always see one thing, like इतना उसमें नहीं जीना चाहिए ignorance में, because today you have a able body, you don't know what kind of a disability you can have like the very next second. So it's not, you're creating an accessible world for other people, you're creating accessible world for yourself. So if
Exactly.
I will make a house for myself, I'll put ramp and everything there कि मुझे नहीं पता कल क्या हो जाए
नहीं
मेरे साथ ही
मैं
में.
वही ना, because I'm saying if you build for the least common denominator, so I always say
Yeah,
this: build for whatever the policies and practices we have, build it for a wheelchair user who happens to be a trans person who also is blind, okay,
yeah,
and happens to be a trans man who belongs to a Dalit community, is poor
and
and is
from a
also
Kashmir.
Muslim and Muslim,
Yeah.
and you build for that person, so
Hmm.
everyone else can reap benefits when. So अगर
Yeah.
अगर कोई रैंप है इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि एबल बॉडीड पर्सन रैंप पे नहीं चढ़ सकता.
Yeah.
एबल बॉडीड पीपल भी चढ़ सकते हैं वही रैंप पे. जैसे एयरपोर्ट्स में,
Definitely.
मुंबई एयरपोर्ट में एक रैंप है पूरा जो एबल बॉडी पीपल ही चलते हैं, व्हीलचेयर में तो कम लोग चलते हैं वहां पे.
इंदिरा गांधी एयरपोर्ट पे
तो
भी.
हाँ, दिल्ली में भी हाँ.
Yeah.
तो
True.
तो बहुत सारी सहूलियत हमें मिलती है, बट वी
Yeah.
डोंट. But there's too little in many places. Like for instance, in Mumbai, the trains are not accessible for people on wheelchairs because there's
Yeah.
gap distance is more.
Hmm.
I mean, you can build. The problem is that you can build. Like metros have sorted that problem. Okay,
Hmm.
hopefully metros में people on a wheelchair, wheelchair users can use the metro.
Hmm.
So, and it's not difficult, and disability could happen to any one of us. Uh,
Definitely.
I mean, कल क्या होता, like for instance, कल कल अगर मैं व्हीलचेयर में होता तब मैं
Hmm.
झट से सोचता ना इसके बारे में. I would have thought कि oh, let's do
Hmm.
something about
Hmm.
people in wheelchair because I need it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So I wish that there are more companies, and I wish that there are more persons with disability in senior positions in various organizations, like CEOs and other this thing, so that they make a world for disabled people where able-bodied people could live in them, because
Yeah.
able-bodied people can live more comfortably in a world built by disabled people,
True. True.
persons with
True.
disability. I
Yeah.
think
This
I think that paradigm has to invert, and we should
I
have
want to
more. Yeah.
I want to ask you like one question on the same theme. Uh, what do you think, like, what role of lived experience play uh, when you're working in a spaces like us, like as a DEI or maybe in a development sector. So a person who is a let's say wheelchair user and running an NGO for a person with disability, queer people working in a DI space or running an organization for a transgender person. Uh, so what do you think, like what role a lived experience play for the person?
I think the lived experience. See, lived experience can give two responses, two
Mm-hmm.
reactions to when
Mm-hmm.
you're in a senior position. You could that could be the worst decision to put a person with a lived experience. I'm not only referring to person who are people who are wheelchair users or people with disability, but generally
Yeah.
because they sometimes I've seen men and women and trans people and people of all genders and people of all abilities in senior positions, and they say, "Oh, if I can do it, you can do it too. I didn't have it easy, so you will have it tough too." है ना? So, so that is one way of a very negative way of looking. So, or the other way of lived experience would be a more empathetic way, saying that, you know what, I've had it tough, and I'm going to ensure that I'm going to make it easy for the next person coming.
Mm-hmm.
I That's a more empathetic response. But many a times you see the other response also. हम लोग बोलते हैं ना, like for instance, I myself am guilty of that. There are many a times when I look at younger queer people and I say things like, तुमको पता है हमारे जमाने में हमने कितनी मेहनत मशक्कत की थी यहाँ पहुंचने के लिए, और हमने कितने कितने लड़ाई लड़ी हैं, तुमको तो सब कुछ प्लेटर में मिला है. Okay, I have said that. Okay, and sometimes it might be. I'm not saying blanket that this is right and that is wrong. Sometimes it must be right also that some people take and are not grateful to history. But many a times, that's the role of every generation to make it easier for the next generation. Not to say that
True.
I will never do this. That I'll say that I had it tough, so you also have to have it tough. यानी मेरे पास सॉल्यूशन है, मैं तुम्हें नहीं दूंगा, तुम मेहनत करो उसके बाद ये करो ना. हम इंडिया में ये रोमांटिसाइज भी बहुत करते हैं कि बहुत मेहनत
बहुत
करनी
ज्यादा.
चाहिए, मेहनत मशक्कत करने के बाद ही सब कुछ मिलना चाहिए, हमने कितना हार्ड वर्क किया. सो वी रोमांटिसाइज हार्ड वर्क, and we make it difficult for other people and we don't give it easy for them. Dude, the
Mm-hmm.
next generation is supposed to have it easy. We had it easy, then our next generation, then our previous generation. It's supposed to have it easy. And that's what
Yeah.
we are working for.
Definitely, I totally agree to that. Like whatever we are doing, whatever we have built, and you have been in a space like मुझसे बहुत बहुत पहले, and honestly I was look up to you folks, you Permeation, doing such fabulous work in the space. And I remember in my hometown you came for a talk and I thought, okay, I'll attend the event. I couldn't do it because I was in a closet, and I there was something which has stopped me like in participating, getting involved with the queer people. So so yeah, but yeah, I saw, like I read about like things you have said there. My friend went there, they were sharing the stories. I have read a book by Parmesh Queristan before joining Godrej. So you folks have actually changed a lot of things for us. I spoke to Zainab like when I was like decided, okay, this is enough and I want to work as myself. I want to come out of closets. She has been a great help and a very practical person, very practical approach.
Oh
So,
yeah, she's so practical that it's frustrating sometimes. She's very methodological. उसके दिमाग में प्रोसेस चलता है, और वो
yeah.
यूएन से आई है ना, तो ऐसे ऐसे
Hmm.
डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स बोलती है, कभी कभी मेरे को समझने के लिए 10 मिनट लगता है. But I love
No,
her.
no,
So I love her, so
true,
I
true.
can.
She is amazing. She's fabulous. So I want to ask you one more thing. So as we have discussed about the lived experience, uh, what like how a person can build a empathy, like so that they can build a right policy, right for infrastructure, right work culture for the other group or other code. For example, cis women who's leading HR or heading the HR can also understand how she can develop empathy for the other communities. So, what are the ways you think could help the leaders to be more empathetic towards the communities who have been historically disadvantaged?
I think don't look at it as a bunch of people, many a times. I mean, be aware of the fact that don't go with an agenda. Interact with people without an agenda. Like if I come and speak to you, I should not come and speak to you. Oh, I'm speaking to Myra because I want to know what happens with transgender people. You know, I should speak to Myra because I want to know about Myra's life. And Myra happens to be trans. Okay. I think be genuinely inquisitive about people, genuinely inquisitive, not about their caste, not about their religion, not about their gender, not about their sexuality, not about their disability status. Just be inquisitive and meet different kinds of people. There is nothing that, and meet people below you. Not in your, don't be a fish in a pond, fish in a well, and you, a frog in the well, frog in the well, fish in the well, frog in the well, frog in the well कि तुम बस अब मेरे ही कुएं में गुटर गुटर होगा. It's important to go out and meet people below you. I judge people by how they treat people below them. Like for instance, I remember my first when I joined work over here in my present job. I uh, I wanted to know um, if there are sanitary pads in the restroom. Okay, so I thought कि मेरे लिए, because I have worked in the social sector all my life, so I don't have this uh, Raja Rank wala thought at all. So I called these people who are sweeping and taking care of the restrooms. I called them to the meeting room and I asked them to sit because I wanted to discuss about what they do in restrooms. And this is the first thing. First of all, when you first get into a job, you want to all revolutionary, you want to change everything,
Yeah, yeah,
all that. So the same thought, I called them to the room and I asked them to sit in the meeting room. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. They said, no, no, हमको कोई देख लेगा. I said, क्या देख लेगा? कोई कौन देख लेगा? So because they were the people who are in charge. So you have to speak to the people who are actually doing the job. And I've seen that in my present organization. If I don't pick the phone, my boss's boss knows who is actually working on the project that she wants to this thing. She will pick up the phone on that person. It doesn't matter whether that person is seven levels below her. You know,
beautiful.
so speak to people at the grassroots. It could be your
Mm,
worker. बहुत बार क्या होता है कि हम लोग ना ये कॉर्पोरेट इसमें हम बहुत सारे ऐसे स्ट्रक्चर्स, पिरामिड स्ट्रक्चर्स बनाते हैं. And while these structures should be for governance and it's very helpful when you're governing things, these structures should not become inhibitors for you to meet the people, who you to see what happens at the grassroots and who is working at the grassroots. you know and the least common denominator, when that person wins, the entire organization wins, the entire
true.
ecosystem wins. Get the least common denominator in your organization, give them the most support because they are the ones. Don't use them as pawns and don't use them as like प्रिंट आउट दिया, प्रिंटर क्या प्रिंट आउट लेके आओ, प्रिंट कमांड दिया, प्रिंट आउट लेके आओ. डोंट गेट देम फॉर दैट. गिव देम द राइट जॉब्स, गिव देम द राइट अपॉर्चुनिटीज, ट्रीट देम वेल. एंड डोंट से कि हैं मैं जब इंटर्न था ना मेरे साथ भी ऐसे ही बोलते थे. ऐसे तेरे साथ बोलता था, तेरा तेरा बॉस जाहिल था. क्या, व्हाट इज द वर्ड?
Jahil, Zahil,
जाहिल. जाहिल.
Jahil.
ओके.
Yeah,
जाहिल था. ऐसे तुम नहीं हो,
Jahil.
तुम वैसे मत
Yeah,
बनो.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
you might have had, your boss might have had it, given you a tough time. You don't need to give a tough time. You don't need to
Someone has
get
to
beat.
break the chain.
Yeah, and give the most support to the least common denominator. They will,
True, true.
and if they grow and see, And the biggest gift for you is when they grow uh, so much that people give their examples to you. Like I have been told many times, and take it as a compliment. I have been told many times. I have a colleague called Swati, uh, and I've been told by my boss, "Oh, you should learn this from Swati. She's so diligent." I don't feel ashamed about that. I feel immense amount of pride when I see that I'm given the example of someone who reports into me, right? And it's a matter of pride. And if they supersede and they go ahead, don't let ego come in the way of that, and feel good about it.
Sure, sure.
It's easier said than done. I also have an ego. I also feel bad. Okay,
So,
but yeah,
like,
but I know that that's not the right thing.
yeah. And to your point, what you have said, like, we, our job enable us to do better for the society, to do better for the community. And we are a very selfish people. We are creating inclusive world so that we can be more comfortable around. So, uh, and if someone who may be reporting to us or working maybe a junior or something, like quote unquote junior, uh, if the person do well and do better the job than us, so the common goal is same.
Yeah,
Eventually, we will be happy. Okay,
yeah.
you have done this fantastic work. You have created like the place where we were working. Like you have
Or
done 10.
उतना ही नहीं रे Myra. Many a
Yeah,
times include them in meetings, include them in
yeah,
conversation. Let them see that their work is appreciated. Don't do things
yeah.
like, you know, I will give command to these two people. They will do all the work, and then I will go and shine in front of everyone. Like, do
Yeah.
pass on the shine to them. You organized it. हम लोग को
Mm-hmm.
लगता है many a times in several fields I've seen it happens in the NGO sector. It happens in the corporate world. People who are organizing, who are basically the people who are coming and saying things like ये बॉक्स में डालो ये बॉक्स में डालो ये बॉक्स में डालो. It's a very important job. Okay, वो बॉक्स में डालना और ये फाइल में डालने, like the different boxes, you put it in different boxes. But what about people who actually made those things which you can put in those boxes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think those are the artisans. Okay,
Yeah.
वो आर्टिस्ट हैं. वो जो ग्राउंड में काम करते हैं वो आर्टिस्ट हैं. जो
Mm-hmm.
जो बेचते हैं, जो ऊपर के जो स्ट्रक्चर में डालते हैं, वो फैशन डिजाइनर है जो अपना लेबल लगा के आगे भेजेंगे. How many times have we had fashion designers, I'm just using fashion
Uh-huh.
designing as an analogy, shine light on the artisans.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. Like it's always important to uh share the deserve credit to the team, to the people who have actually worked on it. Uh, क्योंकि लॉन्ग रन में ऑनेस्टली कुछ बहुत ज्यादा रह नहीं जाता है. आप थोड़ा सा क्रेडिट ले लोगे, थोड़ा दो चार पैसे का प्रमोशन ज्यादा मिल जाएगा शायद आपको, बट कि लॉन्ग रन में क्या उतना वैल्यू रखेगा वो, लाइक व्हेन यू लुक बैक लाइक आफ्टर 10 years or 15 years or so, लाइक
See,
डज इट
I
मैटर?
it does. In the long run, your success might matter to you because it gives you money and it gives you
But should
joy.
not be cost on someone else
Yeah, your
success.
success matters,
Yeah,
but you can have success even by being kinder. Okay,
definitely. Yeah,
by being sweeter, by being kinder. And I
yeah.
don't buy the notion ever when people say, हाँ corporate में तो ऐसे ही होता है. ऐसा ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. वो इंसान ही है यार.
इंसान. हाँ.
इंसान ही है. So I've heard from people from other industries and saying that,
Mm-hmm.
hey, welcome to the corporate world. It happens like this only in the corporate world. I said, they're human beings. They're human beings like everyone else.
Yeah.
There's no rocket science about them.
Mm.
So
No,
I think,
true.
I think, I think we, as a this thing, हम लोग को लगता है कि यार कोई जब ज्यादा पैसे बनाता है हमें लगता है कि यार बहुत सक्सेसफुल है. We measure success with that.
Mm.
But the truth is that somebody who's not making money, who's probably doing fantastic job is also as successful. Like I come from the activism space, and I know several activists who don't. I mean, I myself didn't make a lot of money till I joined the corporate world, but I was happy, and I'm happy now. But was I happier in an NGO world? Probably yes. I know, and there's nothing wrong. Now I've chosen the corporate path for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I will never divorce my NGO life from it. Never, because that is what got me to the corporate job also. ना अपना
Yeah.
roots को कैसे भूल जाऊं मैं?
Yeah, true, true. And one thing I believe that corporate have potential to solve really the biggest problem of the world is not
बिल्कुल
10 minutes delivery, is the social discrimination. वो
बिल्कुल
जो प्रॉब्लम है जो सेंचुरी से हम लोग फेस करते आ रहे हैं कॉर्पोरेट हैव दैट काइंड ऑफ मनी टू स्केल थिंग्स एनजीओ के साथ
बिल्कुल
में प्रॉब्लम ये आता है मोस्टली दैट इंटेंशन अच्छा है प्रोग्राम अच्छा है अप्रोच अच्छा है पर उसका स्केल ज्यादा नहीं होता है वो स्केल जो है एंड आई एम नॉट टॉकिंग अबाउट सीएसआर वर्क आपका जो इफ यू मेक लाइक सोसाइटी का जो प्रॉब्लम है उसको अपना बिजनेस केस इट विल सॉल्व प्रॉब्लम एंड कंपनी
of
को उससे
course
फायदा ही होगा like why
of
we are
course
hiring people from a queer community or person with disabilities or having women like from entry level job to senior in the leadership role the reason is very simple na, ki, if we treat people well if we give them all the opportunity and the skill set they will retain they will stay in the company which will eventually like lower down the cost so
बिल्कुल and I think I totally agree with that कि हम corporates have great potential, and that's why I work with the corporate. And I
hmm,
work with the corporate, and we we did bring about change. Like for
hmm,
instance, I was um, the first thing that we did, and first thing that Goodrich Capital did as well. Okay, uh, is we opened it to queer people in sense that where same-sex partners could open bank accounts, they could list each other
yeah
as nominees. All that we brought in. Okay, you happen to be one of the customers, I believe.
लाइक इन द प्रोसेस बस सैटरडे
Mm.
कल जाके एक फॉर्म सबमिट करके आना है तो वी विल बी वन
Mm.
ऑफ द कस्टमर
So, to you and your partner. So
मी एंड माय पार्टनर या
I think one of the things is this is getting people from real experiences, and to
ट्रू
have the
ट्रू
right intentionality.
या
But am I happy about that? No. I mean, we need to do so much more. And
या
this quench in us ना कि हम खुश नहीं होने वाले हैं इससे. हमें और
होना भी नहीं
चाहिए. दिल
चाहिए
मांगे more.
या या
That's what keeps me alive. I'm like, okay, what can we do for persons with
या
disability in the banking sector? What can we do um, for women? For me, statistics and numbers matter, but that they don't drive me. They don't.
हम्म
I don't get up tomorrow and say, "Oh my God, I'm going to have like 50% women in my organization," that doesn't drive me. What drives me
हम्म
is that's a statistic that we have to chase because that is a tangible way of measuring where you reach. But
हम्म
what drives me personally is the fact that you get an opportunity to change so many lives in the banking
या
sector, in the financial sector. Like I know of same-sex partners who have availed of facilities from Godrej Capital as well, right? So I think that there's so much that you can do that drives us.
या
I mean, for
या
me, that is what drives me. So much that I can do, so much that there is a possibility, and I have some fantastic people working with me who share
ट्रू
the same passion. So I know that इतना कुछ कर दिया and we are not satisfied, and that makes me. I will never. I did this once when 2009 का verdict आया था. हम सब खुश हो गए. हमने बोला कि अभी क्या, अभी तो
दैट
कोई
हाई
भी
कोर्ट
verdict
वर्डिक्ट
नहीं. कोई 2009 में जो दिल्ली हाई
या
कोर्ट
दैट हाई
verdict आ
कोर्ट
गया.
हाँ राइट राइट
तो दिल्ली हाई कोर्ट वर्डिक्ट जस्टिस शाह का वर्डिक्ट जहाँ पे उन्होंने कहा था कि डिक्रिमिनलाइज कर देंगे एनी
हम्म
एनी quoted the constitution, so it became a law for the whole of India, not just Delhi. बहुत खुश हो गए, बहुत रास्ते वस्ते में आए, हमने डांस वांस किया, इंटरव्यू इंटरव्यू दिए, बहुत चने के झाड़ पे चढ़ गए. फिर आया 2013 का verdict. Okay, where Justice Mukhopadhyay and Justice Singhvi का verdict था, where a two judge bench had decided that, had asked something like, said something like we are a minuscule minority, had said something like you know the so-called queer community, so-called LGBT people, and stuff like that, which was very offensive
It
at
is.
that moment. I found it very upsetting. But it was also a wake up call. The biggest pride parade that I've had. Bombay is celebrating its pride parade on the 1st of February at August Kranti Maidan. But the biggest pride parade that I've seen, the most energetic pride parade, was the Day of Rage, which is 15th of December 2013. Jab, not only India, we all took to public places in every city, including your city, including Bhopal. We had gone to several cities, and people in several cities came out on the same day. Many people stood outside embassies in various other countries, like Indian embassy के सामने क्या डीसी वाले, वॉशिंगटन डीसी वाले खड़े हो गए, जर्मन जर्मन जर्मनी में इंडियन एम्बेसी के सामने खड़े हो गए. So people stood outside embassies with a message saying, "No going back." I think that was the thing. And after that, I've decided I'm not going to be satisfied. I'm never going to be satisfied or content by just doing this much and saying, ki, haan, main khush hu.
Yeah,
We'll wait, we will strive, we will get more. Till mange more. That what
definitely.
drives me.
Definitely. Definitely. There's nothing to like कहीं पे रुकने वाली वो बात ही नहीं है. मे बी शायद थोड़ा सा कुछ वक्त रेस्ट कर लेंगे, बट पॉइंट इज वापस खड़े होना है और आगे परस्यू करना है. एंड लाइक as I said, like the position we are holding right now, the space where we are operating, uh, it's very important not just for us but for many other people जो अभी exist करते हैं और जो आने वाले हैं.
Bilkul. On that note, I think we can call an end to this beautiful conversation. I love you, Myra, for all that you do and all that you are. And where is your other half? If you can say hi.
He slept.
She slept. Okay,
He slept.
cool.
So
Take
10:30
care.
is our bedtime.
Oh, so sorry. I
No,
kept
it's
you away.
okay. It's
Chalo.
Friday, so kal
Goodbye.
Saturday. Yeah. Thank you so much, Harish, for inviting me for this wonderful discussion. I loved it, loved every second of it. So thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Goodbye.
Bye. Goodbye.